She said it was just work, but I knew better. Evan and Rachel had been teamus for 5 years. Long enough to have a shared playlist full of accidental hour songs. Long enough to finish each other's favorite sitcom punchlines. But not quite long enough, as Evan would learn, to know every hidden switch inside each other. Right after the wedding, Evan's parents surprised them with keys to a small condo they used to rent out. It came with all the charm of the late 70s. Dark wood cabinets, avocado green bathroom tiles, and a popcorn ceiling that shed dust like snowflakes. Evan, the optimist, called it retro chic. Rachel rolled her eyes and called it Pinterest in crisis. But it was mortgage-free, and in a world where student loans still bit at their heels, they gratefully accepted the gift. Evan sold Chevys at a dealership on the west side of town. He could list every trim package like a bedtime story, and most months, his commissions covered the bills and left just enough for the occasional weekend splurge. Rachel worked at a boutique dental clinic, a sleek, eucalyptus-scented place where the chairs were ergonomic and the clientele always paid in full. 4 years, life moved in a steady rhythm. Taco Tuesdays, Netflix Fridays, hand-in-hand strolls through the Sunday farmers market. But slowly, Rachel's rhythm started to shift. First it was subtle. Sigh after work. An occasional grumble about people being exhausting. She'd always been proud of making her own money, but lately she'd started making offhand remarks, things like, "Myra's husband lets her stay home now. She's working on her passion projects and rediscovering herself." Evan didn't miss the undertone. Rachel was clearly testing the waters, suggesting she wanted to leave her job and focus on herself. But Evan's income wasn't enough to float both of them, not with lingering loan payments and rising grocery prices. He decided to shoot his shot and ask for a raise. He spent half a morning psyching himself up in the car before striding into his manager's glass office. He laid out his numbers, his sales performance, his loyalty. The answer: a smooth corporate rejection cloaked in praise. "You're valuable, Evan. But we're locked until next quarter." Hit like a tire blowout. He drove home rehearsing how to soften the news. Rachel didn't soften. Her reaction was swift and cold. First came the frustration. Why didn't you push harder? Why didn't you demand more? Then the silence, a wall of icy indifference where only the TV dared to make a sound. Evan spent nights on the couch, officially to let things cool down, truthfully because the tension in bed made it impossible to breathe. A week later, over morning coffee, Rachel casually announced she was picking up extra shifts. "Jen keeps extending her vacation and someone's gotta cover," she said with a shrug. "And I've had my eye on that new iPhone, so might as well." Evan recognized a guilt jab when he heard one. That night, he opened a spreadsheet and started a new column labeled "Phone Surprise." He planned to save every extra cent for it, just to show her he was listening, trying. Weeks blurred. Rachel started working longer hours. Evan kept closing deals on Silverados and trailering SUVs. He kept meaning to ask about Jen, this perpetually vacationing coworker, but exhaustion buried his curiosity night after night. Then came the call that detonated it all. Sunday morning. The sun hadn't even cracked the blinds when Rachel left for yet another early shift. Evan, still groggy, wandered into the kitchen, fired up the kettle, only for his phone to buzz. It was his best friend, Caleb. They'd been brothers since T-ball. Caleb never called before noon unless something was wrong. "You dressed?" Caleb asked, voice tight. "Meet me at Shelby's Diner. Now." 10 minutes later, Evan slid into a booth across from his friend, where pancakes sizzled and syrup dripped unnoticed. "Remember Jake Callahan? Hotel guy, rich family?" Caleb asked. Evan nodded. Jake was the kind of guy who bought 2 desserts just because he couldn't decide. "Well, Jake just got veneers. Big shiny smile makeover. Went to Rachel's clinic. She checked him in, chatted a bit. Then, later that same day, she texts him from her personal number. Caleb held up his phone. Evan scanned the screenshots. No denying it. It was her number. And the texts. Flirty. Blatantly so. she asked him out of. He says it was just lattes once, but she was definitely angling for more. Evan felt his heartbeat echo in his jaw. Maybe she was just being friendly, he muttered. Caleb shook his head. She mentioned the coworker she's covering for. That was your red flag. Evan called Jake. The man, sounding guilty and sheepish, admitted they'd met up on a Wednesday night Rachel had claimed was an overtime shift. Evan thanked him and calmly asked for one more favor. Set up a second date. Make it romantic. Let me know when she crosses the line. Jake hesitated, then agreed. That Friday, Evan parked a block away from the Riverside restaurant. At 7:13 p.m. his phone buzzed. She's holding my hand across the table. Evan inhaled once, then walked into the restaurant. Sure enough, Rachel's hand was right where Jake said. How's that extra shift going? He asked, voice icy calm. Her eyes widened. She yanked her hand back like the table had caught fire. Jake mumbled an apology and slipped away. Evan didn't shout. He didn't accuse. He simply looked her dead in the eyes and said, pack whatever you want tonight. Locks change at sunrise. Rachel followed him outside in stunned silence. The following Monday, Evan sat down with her clinic director. He presented the screenshots, the timeline. Another receptionist, tired of covering Rachel's shady emergency breaks, spilled that she'd seen Rachel texting multiple deep-pocketed clients. Rachel was fired on the spot. She tried bartending, crashed on friends' couches, burned every bridge by week 3. She still had a list of maybe boyfriends, but the moment she needed help, the blue bubbles vanished. She was no longer a thrill, just a burden. Evan filed for divorce. No contest. Paperwork cleared in a month. He drifted through the days. Work, microwave dinners, YouTube spirals, a condo so silent it echoed. But the silence, it was honest. One night at 2:14 a.m. a single DM popped up. Hey! Evan let the typing dots flicker, then fade. Autumn came. Jackets came out. Caleb dragged him to trivia night at the Anchor Tap. Their team got paired with Ellie and Harper, 2 nurses who crushed every round of 80s music. Harper's laugh wasn't flirtatious. It was just warm, easy. No games, no tests. By the third date, Evan asked her, if money didn't matter, what would your dream day look like? Harper didn't hesitate. Sleep in. Rescue senior dogs. Road trip to Glacier National Park. I know I'm weird, but I like earning my own way. That sentence unknotted something deep inside him. Weeks later, during a charity 5K, Jake, the former decoy, teased, you're gonna make me best man at this rate. Evan laughed, but didn't deny it. One brisk November morning, he and Harper adopted a shaky, gray-muzzled terrier at a park event. They named her Maple, after the street where everything had fallen apart, and somehow fallen together again. Driving home with the windows down and Maple's ears flapping in the breeze, Evan glanced at Harper in the passenger seat and felt something rare. The math had been brutal but simple. Subtract 1 who saw him as a stepping stone. Add 2. 1 woman and 1 old dog who just wanted to ride beside him. And for the first time since that restaurant showdown, Evan smiled so wide his face hurt. No fine print. No smoke and mirrors. Just the bright, solid promise of another ordinary day. Done right.